Hello everyone, how's it going? And welcome to the second guide of the day. You thought we were done with Ornn, but we're not done at all. Now we have Volibear. Volibear is a bit of a different champion to Ornn. You can build a Volibear as a tank if you want to, but he's more of an off tank in a way. You can build items and really powerful Bruiser items like Divine Sunderer, Trinity Force, Derek's Gauge, even Black Cleaver if you really want to as well, to try and make Volibear an even stronger champion than what he already is. He's going to be very, very interesting. He's going to be a Baron laner. I think he's going to be probably the strongest in the jungle though, because his jungle clear speed is going to be absolutely insane. I'll explain to you why in this video, and as always we're going to be doing, you know, the build tips and tricks and everything like that. But before we get into it, I will be doing a giveaway on this video to celebrate the release of Ornn and Volibear. All you have to do is like the video, comment down below, and that's it. That's all you have to do to enter the giveaway, and I'll announce the winners at the end of this month. Big massive thanks to Riot as always for giving me codes to give away to you all to celebrate the release of champions and to celebrate Wild Rift in general. So hopefully you enter the giveaway, and let's head into the guide. The first up we have Volibear's passive, which is the Relentless Storm. So Volibear passively gains attack speed for a few seconds whenever he deals damage with an ability or an attack, and this stacks up to 5 times. This is already going to make Volibear, sorry, very, very powerful. I'm getting Ornn and Volibear confused now because I just did an Ornn guide. This is going to make Volibear very, very powerful when farming through the jungle, because you're going to be auto attacking a lot, you're going to be using abilities a lot, so you're going to be stacking up that attack speed, which is going to allow you to clear through the jungle very, very quickly. But it's not only that, there's also something else on top of it. At 5 stacks, Volibear's claws ignite with lightning. So that means that you can do AoE damage with your auto attacks, and it deals additional magic damage. So this means that when you're killing something like raptors, wolves, that chain of lightning is going to allow you to quickly clear through the jungle. Not only that, but auto attacks in Wild Rift, melee auto attacks are already AoE. It already does a little bit of splash damage, so you can imagine how fast you can quick through the jungle, not only in the early game, but as you scale into the mid and the late game and you get a few items like Trinity Force or even Derek's Gauge. So I'll show you a little bit how it works here. So as you can see, the passive attack speed is just underneath Volibear's mana bar. So when you get to 5 stacks, you can see you get Chain of Lightning, and this resets every single time you auto attack, every single time you land an ability, every single time you bite, everything. Every single time you land an ability or auto attack, it will reset the cooldown of your lightning or from your passive. So this means that you can even use this during a team fight. If you use your abilities, if you combo them very well, you can stack up your passive really, really quickly. Say you use third ability into auto attack, first ability, use your third ability as one of them stacks, and there we go. We can just easily proc the charge for the passive, which means that you can deal bonus damage and also splash damage around enemy champions. Again, I think this is going to be very, very effective during the jungle, or even very effective during the laning phase, because you can use your auto attacks to stack it up on minions, and then once you stack it on minions, you can then jump on enemy champions. A bit like Irelia in a way, where Irelia wants to stack up passive, gain more attack speed, and then jump on enemy champions afterwards. Volibear works very, very similar with that in the Baron lane. Onto his first ability, we have Thundering Smash. So Volibear gains movement speed when you use the ability. You'll gain 25% movement speed when you move pretty much anywhere around the map. However, it is increased by 50 to 50% when moving towards enemy champions for the next 4 seconds, which is going to be very, very powerful for ganks. Volibear in general has amazing ganks. His ganks are going to be so powerful with this ability, and also the third ability, which I'll get a little bit later on. While active, Volibear's next attack on a champion deals physical damage and stuns the target for 1 second. So when you have that increased movement speed, when you're moving towards enemy champions, if you auto attack them whilst your first ability is being active, you will stun them as well. This means that you can use your second ability to buy, you can use your ultimate to do a little bit more damage, or even use your third ability to try and combo to try and land that, you know, little bit of extra damage and also shield yourself. Now, if Volibear becomes immobilized before he is stunned, Thundering Smash duration is paused. So it actually kind of resets the cooldown of Thundering Smash. Even if you get hit by a crowd control, the cooldown will pretty much be reset. So then you'll easily just be able to use the first ability after you get after you get CC'd for a little bit of time. So when you use the first ability, as I mentioned, you get a little bit of passive movement speed. As you can see, again, this is going to be so powerful in the jungle. You're going to be able to roam around the jungle much more often. You can just use your, use your first ability and then stun a target, use your buy, use a little bit of damage, and as you can see there, we can clear through the jungle very quickly. As I mentioned, you can get more movement speed when moving towards champions. And you can see that you have like a little sound effect when you can tell when you're moving towards enemy champions. A little bit of sound effects when you're moving towards them and when you're moving away. So when you move towards them and when you land an auto attack, before the duration ends, you can see you land a stun. Now you can use this very well when using in combo with your third ability. So when you use your third ability to try and use this on an enemy champion, before this lands, you can actually use your first ability and stun them just before your third ability lands. This will guarantee that your third ability will deal the damage and also guaranteed to shield you. So again, use your third ability, first ability, auto attack to land a stun, and that will guarantee the hit of your third ability. Now obviously this could be countered and you could be quite easily kited sometimes with Volibear, whether it be like a dash away from Ezreal, Lucian, Xayah ulti, or if it be a flash away as well. There are many ways that you can actually be kited quite easily with Volibear, which I think is going to be quite difficult for players when playing with Volibear. But just remember, when you see Volibear starting to charge towards you on 4 legs like this, flash away, run away, because if you get stunned for a small duration, that could be the death of you, because 1 second in Wild Rift is the difference between pretty much life and death in this game, which is pretty crazy. So again, third ability into first ability, land that stun, land that little bit of CC, and then use your third ability to get the shield and get the little bit of extra damage, which again is going to be very powerful and pretty much vital for Volibear when you're playing him. Now your second ability is going to be one of, if not your main damage sources for Volibear. Volibear mauls an enemy, dealing physical damage, and this also scales with bonus HP. So building a little bit of bonus HP is actually pretty good. I'll get to that a little bit later on during the build section. If Volibear mauls a champion or a large monster, he goes into frenzy for 8 seconds. Now being in frenzy is actually going to be very powerful for Volibear, because if this ability is used when in frenzy, its damage is increased, which as you can see is increased by like 200 damage. It scales more with bonus health, and it scales more with your AD. So you're going to be doing a lot more damage when this ability, when you're in frenzy and when you use this ability. And it also restores a little bit of missing health for Volibear. Now, how do you know when you're in frenzy? So when you use your second ability and when you use the attack, you can see your frenzy by the little tiny circle that's going around. So if I use this ability again, you can see that I'm able to deal extra damage. And you can see he kind of does like a bite effect in a way. So every single time I use the ability, you can see that it's just going to keep refreshing the cooldown. So in the later stages, I mean, I'm maximum level now. I'm in the late stage of the game. How often does your second ability come up? So you can use your second ability. You can see you have a little bit of a cooldown, 4 seconds, and then you can use it again. So you still have a lot of time. You still have about 4 seconds when you're going to be frenzied with Volibear. So whether you use, your third ability again in combo with your first ability, make sure you use your second ability. You can auto attack a few times. And when you auto attack 3 or 4 times, you can then use your second ability again to deal more damage. Now, the most important thing with your second ability is it doesn't need to be the same champion or the same large monster. You can second ability one champion, you can then use your first ability to stun someone, boom, and then you proc the frenzy on another champion. So you can actually use this on frontline champions. You can use this as like a little bait tool. So you could do like second ability into third ability, bait the backline, use your ultimate, and then use your second ability again to deal the additional damage to backline carries. So you can actually use this to your effect. And you can use this again during the laning phase. You can use this and bite a minion at first, or use your second ability on a large monster. Actually, no, I don't think the large monster will actually work. Thinking about it now, I don't think this will work on large minions. It just says large monster. It doesn't say large minions as well. So maybe it won't work too well during the laning phase. So you have to use it on the same champion twice. You have to use it on the brown lane champion twice. But I think large monster basically just means large monsters in the jungle, which again is going to increase your jungle clear speed even more. So you can already tell that why I think Volibear jungle is going to be a lot more powerful than Volibear in the Baron lane. Third ability is Sky Splitter. I've used it a little bit already, but Volibear summons a thundercloud that fires a lightning bolt, dealing a little bit of magic damage and slowing enemies by 40% for a few seconds. And if Volibear is inside the blast zone, he gains a shield for a few seconds. Now, the shield is not the most important thing. You can use your third ability as a slow if you want to, but it's going to be one of your main ganking tools for Volibear. So you can use this to bait out a lot of summon spells. So for example, if I just cleared the Scuttle Crab, I just auto attack a few times. I clear the Scuttle Crab, cool, the Scuttle Crab's gone. I want to try and look for a gank in mid lane. When you're going towards mid lane, you can use your first ability straight away, but this is probably going to use their flash straight away. What you can do is use your third ability as a bit of a zoning tool, use your third ability as the slow. Don't get the shield, but use it to try and slow them, and then try and auto attack and try and use your first ability when you're closer to the enemy champion. This pretty much means that you're going to guarantee your first ability stun, because your first ability does have the duration, and that duration can run out if you get the extra movement speed with your first ability. But your third ability can be used as like a little bit of zoning tool. You can use it as a zoning tool in little bit of, you know, in skirmishes as well. You can use it just before going for a team fight, or when you're checking for, you know, see if there's like enemy champions here or anything like that. You could use this ability pretty much anywhere you want to. But again, if you use it on yourself, and when the duration expires and when that lightning comes down, you're going to get a little bit of a shield. So during team fights, you kind of need to predict where enemy champions are going to go, because if you just use this ability normally, if you tap this ability, look, it's just going to go in the middle of the target dummy, which is not always going to be the best thing, because that champion is going to move by the time the duration ends. So most of the time you actually want to manually use your third ability and kind of use it like this. So you want to use it again as like a bit of a zoning tool. So you actually want to use the tip of your third ability just on the edge. So if that target dummy moves away and tries to move towards the tower, it doesn't matter, because the third ability is going to be a little bit on the edge, and then we can use our, you know, walk up, use our first ability. So it's a lot harder for the enemy champions to escape when you manually use your third ability and use it again as like a zoning tool. Because if you tap the ability, hey, that champion, by the time that duration ends, can easily move out or easily use any mobility abilities to get out of it. But if I use the third ability like this, it's going to be a little bit harder for that champion to escape. That champion's going to have to cover more distance to try and escape. And hey, if you want to try and escape your third ability, cool, you have to walk towards me, which means I can stun you, deal more damage and everything as well. So it's very, very important to manually aim your third ability. Then we have Volibear's ultimate. This ultimate is absolutely crazy. This is probably going to be the best ganking tool in the game for tower dives and even just for ganks in general, and I'll tell you why now. So Volibear transforms and leaps, gaining health and attack range for the next 12 seconds. Again, already gaining health and attack range is going to be very, very powerful, because it means you can use your second ability at range to deal more damage. Upon landing, Volibear cracks the earth, disabling nearby towers for 5 seconds. Yes, he can disable towers. This is going to be so powerful for ganks. This is going to be so strong for tower dives and everything in general. It's going to be so strong. It deals a little bit damage to towers, which isn't really the main thing, and nearby enemies are slowed by 50%, decaying over a second. This is absolutely insane. Watch this. I can go over here, I can walk over here, cool, not, you know, the enemy champion doesn't feel like they're in danger. I'm just going to ulti over the wall, boom, I disable the tower. The tower's not going to do any damage to me, and look how long the tower is disabled for. It's disabled for such a long amount of time. Say for example there's an enemy champion underneath here. Hey, that enemy champion might feel like he's safe, he might feel like he's okay. I can use my third ability as a little bit of a zoning tool. I can use my ultimate over the wall. Ah, you're not safe anymore, buddy. I'm going to be dealing a lot more damage to you, and I can deal a lot more damage to you by the time the tower doesn't get disabled. This ultimate is so strong. So you can use this in two ways. You can use this to disable the towers if you want to, but one of the best ways during a team fight to use the ultimate is try and land it on as many champions as possible. If you land them on the inner circle, that little bit of inner circle, the champions are going to take more damage. If you land it on the outer circle, they're going to take a little bit less damage, but they're still going to take damage in general. So using your ultimate to land this, you know, huge team fight ultimate to pretty much, you know, slow everyone as well. This will allow you to get into range to use your first ability, to land your second ability to try and get your frenzy, and then auto attack to try and stack your passive. Your ultimate is pretty much the be all and end all of Volibear, you know, gaining a little bit of maximum health, gaining that attack range is going to be so strong for Volibear during the team fights. You know, you can ultimate over walls to try and steal barons, to try and steal objectives. There's so many ways you can use your ultimate. You know, you can use your ultimate over here to just, you know, try and take away baron if you want to. Say, for example, you're over wall, this blasting cone's already used. Cool, I want to try and steal the baron. I can just use this to steal the baron and then just flash away afterwards. You know, there's so many different ways you can use your ultimate to get around the map and be very powerful. You can use this as a surprise effect in a bush, you know, jump over. You get the gist. You understand what I mean. So that's pretty much everything for the abilities. In terms of combos, there's not really too much in terms of combos. I've kind of already explained a little bit. Your main combo is going to be using your third ability and then your first ability, and then you auto attack, W, and then auto attack. So you can just do that if you want to. That's pretty much going to be your most basic combo when going for a gank. Again, try not to waste your first ability though, because that stun is going to be very important when landing, you know, ganking. So when you use your third ability, try and walk up afterwards, see if they have some of the spells and try and bait them out. And then you can just, you know, auto attack, second ability, auto attack, because your second ability kind of works as an auto attack cancel in a way. So you can just use that to your best effect. So yeah, again, third ability into first ability into auto attack, second ability, auto attack. That's going to be your basic combo. That's also going to allow you to get your passive up straight away. So when you auto attack the next few times, it's going to be proc. Yeah, third ability, first ability, proc, first ability, auto attack, and then you second ability into auto attack. Pretty basic combo. Now when you're going in with your ultimate, there's many different ways that you can use, you know, your abilities. Your best way is to use your ultimate, auto attack into first ability, then your second ability, because your first ability is going to guarantee the land on your second ability. You can save your first ability if you want to, just in case they use flash or anything else. So you can use, you know, ultimate into auto attack, second ability, then auto attack, and then use your first ability afterwards. Because then when you use your first ability afterwards, you have a little bit more time where your frenzy is up, so you can try and land your second ability to deal that little bit of extra damage. So again, many different ways to use your combos, many different ways to use your abilities, which is going to be so powerful for Volibear. Now let's move into the leveling order with Volibear. So when playing through the jungle, you want to go for your third ability. This can also be used pretty well during the Baron lane if you want to. You can also use this ability in the Baron lane if you also want to go for that. You know, you can use your third ability to just poke during the laning phase during the Baron lane. But in the jungle, you always want to go for your, you know, third ability first. Your first ability might actually be a little bit more powerful in Wild Rift. I actually think your second ability might be a little bit more powerful. It kind of depends on the duration in the early game. I'm kind of curious actually how the duration works in the early game. Oh, it's still 4-second cooldown, so it's a 4-second cooldown at every single rank. Okay, maybe your second ability is going to give you more damage and more clear speed in the early game. Yeah, I think your second ability is going to give you more damage and more actually cost base damage. I'm not really too sure. Maybe your third ability, I mean, it will have to be tested. It will either be the second ability or the third ability with your first level. I mean, you'll have to test it for yourself. Let me know what you think. But your third ability will help you be a little bit extra tankier and will give you a little bit more base damage if you want to. Then at level 2, you then want to go for your third ability because this will give you a lot more damage. Also, your first ability is not really needed through the jungle. That stun doesn't really do too much, and it doesn't really allow you to do too much, you know, in terms of, you know, getting around the map that often in the early game. Then you want to go for your first ability, have all your abilities available. Now, if you want to play in the Baron lane, you want to max your second ability because this is going to be your main trading tool, and it's also going to allow you to deal more damage with your second ability. But if you're playing through the jungle, you actually want to max your first ability. And the reason why you max your first ability is the cooldown going down, so you can get around the map a lot quicker and you can gank a lot quicker. The base damage goes up, the movement speed and the bonus movement speed both also go up. So you don't get as much movement speed in the early game. You can see 10% movement speed in the early game, and that doubles to 20% when going towards enemy champions. But as you can see, as you level up the ability, the more movement speed you're going to get. So this is going to be so important when playing through the jungle. So you want to max your first ability at every single point that you can, and then max your second ability, because your second ability is still going to be one of your main damage sources. So you go first ability for the ganking potential, second ability to deal more damage, and then third ability, making sure obviously you level up your ultimate when possible. That's pretty much everything in terms of Volibear in general. We're going to go into the build now. There's 2 separate builds you can go for Volibear. You know, I have the tank build in the Baron lane, and then I also have the off-tank Bruiser build in the jungle, which is very similar to Vi. because the Volibear loves maximum health. It allows him to be extra tankier, allows him to do more damage with his second ability. And another great item for Volibear is going to be Trinity Force. You know, Spellblade passive is very, very powerful because when you use your first ability, you can proc that stun straight away, and then you can auto attack to easily proc Spellblade passive to deal additional damage. The rage damage, allowing you to get movement speed every single time you auto attack, is also going to be very, very powerful. And just overall, the base stats in general, you know, maximum health, attack damage, attack speed, ability haste, are all going to be great stats for Volibear. So clearing through the jungle, getting your Trinity Force before that first objective is going to be very, very powerful, very strong for Volibear. Now, Volibear's base stats are also pretty high. You know, his base attack damage is also going to be pretty high for Volibear. And this is where Steric's Gauge comes in. So again, it's another item that gives you a lot of maximum health. So you're going to be tankier, but you're also going to be dealing additional damage. And the reason why you're going to be dealing additional damage is because the heavy-handed passive. 50% of your base AD is bonus, gets granted and bonus attack damage. So whatever base AD you have, 50% of that will be granted as bonus attack damage. So you're going to be getting quite a lot of bonus attack damage, which will allow you to do more damage and help you clear through the jungle. But also the item is going to give you a lot of maximum health. The lifeline passive is also very strong. It means when you drop below 35% health, you're going to be granted a shield, which is equal to 75% of your bonus health that decays over time for a few seconds. So again, very, very powerful combo with Trinity Force and Steric's Gauge, because you can get that combo very, very easily. You know, Steric's Gauge is quite a cheap item, but it both items gives you a lot of damage and also give you a lot of tankiness. As for the boots, Mercury Treads is going to be your go-to option for Volibear, because again, he can be kited very easily. You can land CC very easy on Volibear, so Mercury Treads is normally going to be your best option, with Plated Steel Caps being the optional if you're not against any crowd control and if you're against a lot of AD champions. In terms of boots upgrades, I think Gargle Stone Plate is going to be very, very powerful for Volibear, because you're always going to be nearby enemy champions, or you can go for something like Stasis. Stasis also works very, very well for pretty much any champion. Then after these first two items, then your build kind of becomes flexible. You kind of need to adapt depending on the situation of the game. If you're against a lot of AD champions that have a lot of healing, you go for something like Thornbell. You want to mixture of both armor and MR, cool, you can go for Twin Guard. If you just want more maximum health and you just want more damage on your second ability and just more health in general, you can go for something like Warmogs. Warmogs is very, very powerful, especially when you're building health beforehand, because of the Warmog's Heart passive. So when you join a team fight, when you do a little bit of extra damage, you take a little bit of health, you're probably like, I'm a little bit low on health now. You just walk away. The Warmog's Heart will heal back up to full HP very, very quickly, and then you can join a team fight again. Very, very powerful for junglers, because you can join fights, you can then disengage and then join fights again if you want to. So again, very, very powerful. It gives you a lot of maximum health, allows you to be tankier, but also again do damage at the same time. Twin Guard is a very, very strong tank item in general, very good off tank item, because we don't have a lot of armor and magic resist in this build. Twin Guard is going to be even more powerful. Twin Guard is mostly powerful when you don't have other armor and MR items in our build, because we gain 55 armor, 55 magic resist, and that is increased to by 30% when we get full stacks of Twin Guard. So this can pretty much be our only MR and armor item, and this will be enough tankiness for us to be able to, you know, build other damage items if we really want to. So again, very, very powerful, very, very strong. And it's going to be really, really strong, really good for Volibear. And then we have Thornmail. Thornmail is our Grievous Wounds item. As I mentioned already, we already have plenty of mobilizing effects, whether it be your first ability to stun, your third ability to be able to slow, or if it's your ultimate as well, which can also slow. So there's many ways that you can mobilize champions with Volibear. So Thornmail is going to be very, very powerful. There are some situational items as well that you can go for. Items like Death Stance could be really good against AD champions, because it gives you that little bit of damage and armor, and also allows you to take, you know, physical damage as true damage over time. But then you can also cleanse that every single time you get a takedown, which allows you to heal up a little bit. So that can be very, very powerful. I'll be interested to see if Black Cleaver works very well for Volibear, because Black Cleaver in general is a very strong item in Wild Rift. I don't think it's going to be as effective in Wild Rift. I'm not too sure. Again, it's an item that we'll have to test out. So that's kind of like a bit of a question mark for me. But other tank items that are really strong, Random's Omen, if we're against a lot of critical strike damage champions, it's going to be very powerful. Or even Frozen Heart, because there's many ways that we could easily jump into melee range of enemy champions, which is going to slow their attack speed, and also basic attacks that are also going to cause them to be chilled as well. So really easy to auto attack. You're going to be auto attack a lot with Volibear anyway, whether it's your second ability, whether it's auto attacks to try and chain with your passive, many different ways that you're going to be able to auto attack. Then you have the runes for jungle Volibear. Conqueror, I think, is going to be main rune. You can go for something like Kraken Slayer. I think Kraken Slayer might be a little bit powerful. I want to test Kraken Slayer to see if it works though on maybe your first ability or even your second ability, to see if it counts as a stack towards Kraken Slayer. If it does, it can be very, very powerful, because if it works with your first ability and your second ability, you can just first ability into stun, auto attack second ability, and that procs Kraken Slayer. That could be a cool way of using Kraken Slayer. But Conqueror, many different ways that you can stack Conqueror, whether it's your first ability, your third ability, your ultimate. There's so many different ways you can stack Conqueror. And the cool thing is when you stack Conqueror, when you get to maximum stacks of Conqueror, that means you're also going to be getting to maximum stacks of your passive. So it means that lightning little bit of damage is going to be dealing a little bit of extra damage from Conqueror, and also you're going to be getting a little bit of healing. Triumph is really strong. Champion takedowns restore missing health, which is going to be really strong because we're building a lot of health, and also we get to deal more damage to champions that are low on health, which is going to be pretty cool. Bone plating, really good against any combo damage. I think perseverance is also going to be a very, very strong rune for Volibear, because again, crowd control is going to be a little bit annoying for Volibear, so perseverance is going to be very, very strong. And then we have mastermind to deal a little bit of extra true damage to epic monsters, help us to clear through the epic monsters like, dragon, herald, baron. Allows us to clear through that a little bit quicker if we need to. But if you don't want to go for that, you can go for something like Nimbus Cloak instead to get a little bit of extra movement speed if you want to, or something like Pathfinder could also be really good. It gives you the movement speed through the jungle, which could be very powerful with your first ability, and when you move towards the enemy champion, you get 50 bonus movement speed from moving towards the enemy champion with your first ability, and then you get 30 bonus movement speed when moving through the jungle, and that can also be increased up to 50, so you can actually get up to 100 bonus movement speed with Pathfinder. So I think Pathfinder can be very, very strong if used effectively. But again, Mastermind is probably your main route to go, and then your summon spells are Smite and Flash. I'll quickly show you the tank build in the Baron lane. You can go for like a little bit of a tank build in the Baron lane if you want to. I'm not too sure if like Bruiser Volibear or Tank Volibear in the Baron lane is going to be strong. We'll have to see. But Iceborne Gauntlet is going to be very, very powerful, because there's many ways that you can proc Iceborne Gauntlet, especially your first ability. Land in the stun will also give you the icy terrain around, which will slow enemy champions. Then you just go for tank items, kind of similar to the Ornn build. You got items like Sunfire Cape, you got Thornmail, you still got Twin Guard, you got Force of Nature, and you have Thornmail. This is kind of your tank build with Volibear. And then you go for Grasp Undying could be okay. I think Conqueror still going to be better in Baron lane, but I think Grasp Undying being pretty good in the Baron lane. Then you just go for Triumph, probably Second Wind or Bone Plating. Either one of these two will be very, very strong. And then Demolish. Something like this for the Baron lane can work very, very well as a tank. Just depends. It depends on how we test Volibear, what his numbers like, what his damage numbers are like, and we'll see how things go. But yeah, that is everything for Volibear. 2 out of 2 videos done for the evening. I will be streaming my gameplay tomorrow on Volibear and Ornn, so make sure you check that out. As always, thank you all for tuning in to the videos. Have a good rest of the evening or rest of the day, wherever you are in the world, and I'll see you all tomorrow for another Wild Rift video. Take care. Peace.